Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this episode 3697 BN. Today's date is July 29th, 2025, and the title of the episode is D Set the Precedent? Obama Can Be Impeached? It'll be like he never existed. Let's talk about our health. We've been told our whole lives that wrinkle creams were the easiest way to look younger. Now, one doctor says that's nothing but old news. According to Dr. John Lakey, the world-renowned Beverly Hills expert, most wrinkle fixes on the market are nothing but glorified moisturizers. They hardly make a dent on your appearance, and some can even be harmful to your skin. Recently, Dr. Lakey has focused his attention away from mainstream cosmetic practices. Why? So he can pursue a revolutionary anti-aging breakthrough, one that some experts say could empty the wallets of the cosmetic industry. It's almost like Photoshop for your face. You may even be mad after seeing how easy it is to visibly erase your wrinkles from view. Lakey told reporters his personal clients have doubled his new do-it-yourself technique, the Age Rewinder method, because it can take years or even decades off your appearance in under 2 minutes. In light of this amazing breakthrough, Dr. Lakey has released a step-by-step video to the public, free and uninterrupted, where he outlines exactly how to use the simple solution from home. If this helps even one person look younger or feel more confident, I'll be thrilled knowing I helped, Dr. Lakey commented. The video has since gone viral. At first, it was shared by users on Facebook, but since then, it raked up over 2.3 million views and counting. So far, the comment and feedback have been outstanding, with thousands of women reporting they look decades younger. One viewer even commented, "Best results of anything I've used, and I can't believe how well this works. I'll never stop using this. I don't understand how it works, but the results are great. Thank you." So you can find out more about this yourself right now. Go to bhmd1.com/x22 or click on the link in the description box below. That's bhmd1.com/x22. Now, there's one thing Dr. Lakey asks from his viewers. If watching this video helps you look and feel younger than you have in years, then please share this video with your friends and loved ones. Together, we have the power to help as many women reclaim a youthful look as possible. Go watch the video at bhmd1.com/x22 right now, or just click on the link in the description box below. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, big tech fake news, the puppet masters, you can see they are now panicking because all the information is coming out on how these people were treasonous to the United States government, treasonous to the people of this country, and how they tried to take down Trump and try to remove him. So this way he can go after, all these people can go after the people of this country. And what's happening right now is that as more and more information is produced, the people of this country are starting to realize that, wait a minute, everything the fake news said, everything that they've said over the many, many years is completely and utterly fake. Now, of course, they can't stop repeating it, because once they do, they admit that they're wrong. So Trump, the Patriots know that they will keep this grand conspiracy going. They'll keep saying that, yes, there was Russian collusion. Yes, the evidence is real. And each time they say this, Tulsi Gabbard is going to produce more and more evidence showing that this never really existed. It was created. And you have to remember, it was created by Obama, Hillary Clinton, Brennan Clapper, and the rest. And this is going to lead into everything else that they did to Trump. So the grand conspiracy will continue, which means there is no statute of limitations. Plus, during Trump's impeachment, the D's continually brought up the idea that a president can be impeached even when he's out of office. And actually, Trump's impeachment lawyer kind of said, listen, since they went ahead and they made this precedent, this could be used against Obama. He might be able to be impeached. Now, of course, we've never had a president impeached after office. But when we start to look at some of the posts where it says, when I'm finished with you, and Trump is pointing to Obama, when I'm finished with you, it's going to be like you never existed. Think about that for a sec. So once again, I do believe Trump, he's going to show the people everything. Now, is he going to show everything where it destroys relationships with foreign nations? It destroys the country? No, but I think it'll be enough where people start to realize that these people are the true enemy. And you can see the deep state players, they're now trying to use the latest event that occurred in New York City, where this individual who was a security guard in Las Vegas decided to drive from Las Vegas all the way to New York with his weapons to basically shoot people that have to do with the NFL. So he planned this out, and he planned exactly what he's going to do, but the individual went to the wrong floor. Does that make any sense? No, it really doesn't. Actually, there's a lot of things that really don't make sense in this shooting. But you can see what the entire plan is and what they really wanted. They really wanted a white individual. This way they can push gun control. This way they can say, oh, look, see, it's the white people with the guns. They are the problems. And what you're noticing now is that CNN, MSDNC, and all the other fake news networks, normally when it's not a white person, it's a black person, they usually drop the story. But what's very interesting about all this is they're not really dropping the story, because I do believe what they're trying to do is they're trying to keep this on the front page to distract from what is coming out now against Obama, Hillary Clinton, Brennan Clapper, and the rest. And I think that what they're trying to do is they're trying to use this and build it up and keep it in front of people's faces so they don't look at anything else. Basically, it's a distraction. Do I think it's going to work? No, I don't think so, because this story, it is very, very odd. Just like it's very, very odd on how all these different left-wing crazy people, they're getting all upset about Sydney Sweeney's commercial where she's wearing jeans for American Eagle. And yes, she's very pretty. She has blonde hair, blue eyes. And you can see the left, nose rings, purple hair, green hair. Basically, they're complaining that, wait a minute, what's going on here? We're now pushing Nazism because she has blonde hair, blue eyes. But if you go back in time, we've seen this before. This is not the first time a pretty girl was wearing jeans. If you go back in time, we've had other individuals wearing jeans. Look at Brooke Shields back in 1980. She pushed Calvin Klein. Liv Tyler, Bongo, 1990. Kate Moss, Calvin Klein, 1992. Debbie Harry, Jordache, 70s through the 80s. Martha Plimpton, unknown brand in the 80s. And it goes on and on and on. All these different people that they had either blonde hair, blue eyes, they were very pretty, and they were pushing jeans. This has nothing to do with Nazism. Basically, what it really has to do with is that these people are very, very upset that now the country's moving away, pushing the trans movement, pushing the leftist movement, and they don't like it. Because remember, if you just go back a little bit in time to Biden's time, they were pushing the agenda. You didn't see anyone like this pushing jeans. You saw overweight people. You saw black people. You saw trans people. Now that we're going back to our roots, they're getting very, very upset about this. And basically, they're trying to make a really big deal out of this. But again, it's not working whatsoever. L. Purnell put this out and said, this is an actual paragraph published by the Washington Post in which one of the Post style writers seemed to suggest America's Eagle Sydney Sweeney ad campaign is actually a racist DHS dog whistle. Really great journalism, guys. And it's absolutely ridiculous. And you can see the people, all the fake news, they went completely overboard on this. And Wokeness put this out and said, one ad with an attractive white woman is all it took for the media to lose their mind. Yahoo, Sydney Sweeney, American Eagle ad faces backlash for racial undertone. There is no backlash from the American people. Actually, there's rumors that American Eagle sales, they're up now. And think about this. Think about all the publicity that they're getting right now. The Washington Post, how American Eagle Sweeney, good jeans ad went wrong. Actually, whatever the fake news is saying right now, it is the opposite. Because what they're doing right now is they're protecting the minority, the trans movement, LGBTQ, and all these people that are pushing DEI. They're basically trying to cover for these people, trying to convince you that this is wrong. But actually what's happening right now is people are calling them out on it, saying, no, this is what the people want. And actually Rasmussen did a poll, and this is the question that they asked to the people. Do you agree or disagree with the statement, it's okay to be white? Agree? 68% men, women 69%, white 74%, black 58%, Hispanic 62%, other non-white 61%. Dems agree, 56%. Independents, 67%. GOP, 84%. All adults, 69%. So do you really think the fake news is actually telling the true story? No, they're just upset that their movement is now dead. And people now are seeing it. And companies now are shifting. Because the companies are realizing, listen, we lost all that money in the past. Now, look at this. This is incredible. People are looking at the ad. People are coming to the store. People want the jeans. I mean, Ulta right now, they're pushing a man dressed as a woman selling makeup in the store. Haven't they learned the Bud Light thing? I mean, this is going to be a disaster for Ulta. Sometimes you got to go through it. Sometimes you got to experience it before those people that are in power realize, listen, we got to change our ways. And think about it. All those individuals in the fake news, all those individuals in Ulta, in the higher corporate tier, most of these individuals, who do you think they are? You think they're trans people? You think they're DEI people? Of course, they're very, very upset. I mean, think about when they pushed Bud Light. They had this DEI person, this marketing person. Oh, this is the greatest idea. Bud Light still hasn't recovered. Target tried the same exact thing. It's completely and utterly falling apart on them. And they don't even see it. They're trying to save what they had, but it's not going to work because the people of this country, they're not on their page. They never were. And basically what's happening is their entire movement, it is done. Just like with Harvard, their entire push where they were pushing their agenda, their narrative, and everything else, it's coming to an end. Eric Doherty put this out and said, Harvard is ready to dish out $500 million to settle the dispute with President Trump. This would be over double what Columbia University paid when they caved. Elite institutions are caving to Trump just as predicted. Yeah, because once again, the people of this country, they voted and elected Trump for a reason. And they gave him a mandate, an agenda, and he's carrying it out. The people want Trump to go after Harvard, go after Columbia, go after the DEI and everything else. That is exactly what he's doing. He's destroying it. And the people are right there with him. And this is why it was so important to get the people on his side. This is why he took us through the 4 years of Biden's residency. Actually, it wasn't really Biden running the country. We know it was the deep state players, all those DEI people, trans people, Obama, and the rest. And when the people started to realize, wait a minute, everything that they're doing, everything they said that sounded great in theory is actually destroying the country. This is the wrong direction. We need to change directions now. And as Trump continually puts out, not him himself, but his team, puts out evidence that these same people that were trying to destroy the country, they're treasonous to this country, you could see the deep state players, the fake news, they're panicked in all this. Because remember, they basically lied to the American people for all these years. They haven't even stopped. They haven't even admitted that they were wrong. So basically, they're keeping the grand conspiracy going. And they need some type of distraction. And what's very interesting is that all of a sudden, we had this shooter that drove from Las Vegas with his weapons, his AR-15 and a pistol, I think it was Glock, drove all the way to New York, walked around New York City with his AR. Nobody said a damn word like, oh my God, the guy's got a gun. Why is he walking around with a rifle? Nobody even noticed. You know why? Because most of the people walking around, they're on their phones. They don't even have self-awareness. They don't even know what's going on around them. No one even said a word, especially in a place where guns aren't allowed. You would think people would be like, holy crap, gun in the city, gun in... Nobody. Absolutely amazing. Ryan Savendra put this out and said the following. Notice how completely unaware people standing nearby are that the guy has a long gun in his hand. Walk into a gun store like this and you'll have weapons pointed at you the moment you step in the door. So again, why did the gunman go to New York City? Well, he knew that nobody had a gun. No one was going to stop him. This is going to be pretty darn easy. And right now, he had a letter, of course, and he said he was very upset about the NFL. And that was his main objective. And that's where he was headed. He was headed to the NFL Because, again, NFL is causing brain injuries. He said he had a brain injury. He wants his brain, dissected so we can see what's wrong. He played football when he was younger in Las Vegas. He was a security guard in Las Vegas. And yes, he was able to get the weapons legally at the time because he had no record or anything like this. He passed the background checks. Actually, out in Vegas, he even had a concealed carry. So basically, when this happened, what did the fake news do? Well, they were crossing their fingers. They were hoping that this event, it was going to be a white individual. Charlie Kirk put this out and said, law enforcement, here's multiple pictures of the non-white suspect. CNN, they know he is a male, possibly white. He's wearing sunglasses. Gee, it's almost like they have an agenda. They were hoping that the individual was white, but that didn't pan out. And it's amazing that they're actually even calling out the color of the shooter. Is that really that important? Because remember, it doesn't matter what color you are. Basically, there are good people and there are bad people. The color means nothing. The race means nothing. And basically, you could tell that these people are very, very racist because the first thing they do is they call out, hey, he's white. I think he's possibly white. When everyone saw that he was black. Doesn't make a difference because there were bad black people, there are good black people. There are bad white people, there are good white people. The color makes no difference whatsoever. And just like that, the shooter basically killed himself. So basically, he killed certain individuals within a building. And basically, the fake news tried to play this off as a white individual. Then all of a sudden, they learned it wasn't a white individual. Of course, they're not saying it's a black individual. And basically, now they're just keeping the story in the news. Of course, they're trying to push gun control once again. Again, the gun doesn't do anything. It's almost like when we saw the guy in Michigan. Did the knife do something? Or was it the individual holding the knife and stabbing people? So the gun doesn't do anything. It's the people. And I think the people are now over it where they really believe that it's the gun. Because if it's the gun, then it's the knife. Then it's the bat. Then it's the car. We need to get rid of everything then. Does that make any sense? No, it really doesn't. And think about this. Think about how the fake news calls illegals different names, shooters different names. Alec Lace put this out and said, CNN, the most trusted names in news. Shane Tamara, he's the shooter, white suspect. Gilmore Garcia, Maryland dad. Trump fell on stage at Butler rally when actually someone took a shot at him. Joe Biden, sharp as a tack. Everyone's starting to see the fake news. And think about it. Shane Tamara, as he was walking through New York, there are signs that says gun-free zone, no guns allowed. So I wonder why he didn't drop his gun. Like, holy crap, wait a minute, no guns allowed here? Oh, I can't have a gun. I mean, I was going to shoot people, but the sign says no guns, I got to drop it. I mean, this is how stupid this is. This is ridiculous. And again, going back to the Constitution, the people have the right to bear arms, carry a weapon. Now, think about it. If people weren't so afraid in New York about weapons because they made people in New York afraid and people were actually carrying weapons, they would say, look, this guy's carrying a weapon out in the open. He's going into a building and people most likely would have weapons on them. Most likely they would be able to stop this individual because there'd be more than just a security guard. And most of the security guards within the buildings, they might or might not have a weapon, even though there's a security guard. And think about it. The Democrat mayor, Mamdani, he wants to defund the police after something like this. I mean, think about this for a second. A cop was just murdered in New York City while trying to protect the public. And Mamdani wants to get rid of them. Actually, Mickey put this out and said, I just saw a cop crying in his car. Laughed my ass off. Mamdani responded to this and says, nature is healing. I mean, think about this for a second. This is who New Yorkers want. Unbelievable. Now, the other thing that's very interesting, and Manhattan Mingle put this out, Although the perpetrator's motives have yet to be conclusively determined. I mean, right now they're saying he went after NFL, but he got off at the wrong floor. But he planned this from the very beginning. He drove thousands of miles. He planned it perfectly, staying at hotels. He entered the city. He carried his weapon, but he didn't know what floor to get off of. Okay, whatever. Although the perpetrator's motive has yet to be conclusively determined, the location of the shooting was number 5 target on a list first distributed by Globalize the Intifada activists in November 2023. Libs of TikTok responded and said the building that was targeted today by a shooter in New York City was put on a target hit list by a pro-Palestinian activist group within our lifetime. They should now be considered a terrorist organization. So that is very, very interesting. Now, we don't know if this is the reason why he went there, but it's very, very interesting. That's where he went. So he drove thousands of miles, like we said. He planned it out, but he went to the wrong floor. Observing Consciousness responded to what has happened and said the following. So let me get this straight. A gunman walks into 345 Park Avenue, one of the most secure high surveillance buildings in Manhattan, home to Blackstone, the cabal's real estate nerve center, also housing the NFL, KPMG, and major global infrastructure ops. And out of all the possible targets, he just so happens to take out Wesley Lepatner, CEO of Bright, head of Core Plus Real Estate, the woman managing $70 billion in hard assets, a Yale grad, Goldman alum, tied to elite institutions and real-world power grids, all inside a building where you don't sneeze without a badge scan and 8 camera angles. Yeah, that's a bit too neat for me. Looks like a message more than a massacre. Maybe, maybe not. So normally, when people come into the building in 345 Park Avenue, they have to go through security, which includes a security desk staffed by guards where visitors typically check in. So this individual bypassed this immediately by opening fire, and he entered the lobby. And he killed an off-duty New York Police Department officer working security and shooting a security guard behind the desk who was attempting to activate an alarm. The building features additional security like safe rooms on each floor with bulletproof doors, an alarm system at the security station capable of disabling elevators. There's no publicly reported evidence that Shane Tamara visited or entered 345 Park Avenue prior to the shooting. Tamara accessed and used an elevator without any reported use of a badge. He followed a woman into one, allowed her to exit unharmed, and rode to the 33rd floor. So he didn't have a badge to work the elevator. Now, are the badges needed only at night, or do they need it during the day? Because if they need it during the day, he didn't pick up a badge from any of the security people. How did he actually work the elevator unless you only need it at night? So that's very, very interesting. But we also have security cameras throughout the entire building, and they monitor the lobby. I mean, this is one of the areas which you would keep an eye on because that's when people are coming in. So Central Lock and Security Systems, a professional security firm, operates out of the building at level B basement, providing maintenance, monitoring, and response services. So protocols do exist when they see an active shooter or an emergency type of situation. So now they're watching the cameras. They're watching this guy shoot everyone. There's flashes everywhere. So what is the protocols? The protocols basically is to sound the alarm. Okay, there was no alarm that was sounded, which is kind of odd. Part of the protocols is to lock down the elevators and bring all elevators down to the ground floor. By the way, that didn't happen. And when the alarms go off, there are strobe lights everywhere that are flashing. So none of these things happen. Now, people are going to say, well, this happened very quickly. It was between 30 seconds and a minute and a half, and maybe they didn't have time before he got in the elevator. Well, when he was in the elevator, why didn't they shut it down between floors? They have the ability to do that. Why didn't they shut it down and bring it right back down to the lobby? That's or maybe between floors so the guy couldn't get off. He was trapped in the elevator. Why didn't they do something like that? Or bring it down and maybe lock the doors? I don't know if they have that function, which I wouldn't be surprised if they don't. Why wouldn't they do something like that? So that would actually give him time because he went all the way up to the 33rd floor, which is very, very interesting. So something doesn't make sense here, does it? So let's see what they come up with. But again, these are just all questions of why all these things weren't done. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is we know that Trump and his team, they are now basically cutting the federal government. Now, of course, the D's, the fake news, the deep state players, they're going to make a really big deal of this because once again, coming out on July 29th, it says Trump administration slashed federal funding for gun violence prevention. Melissa Hallman put this out and said, the Trump administration has terminated more than half of all federal funding for gun violence prevention programs in the U.S., cutting $158 million in grants that have been directed to groups in cities like New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and Baltimore. So the question everyone should have is, since he cut this, if he kept it the way it was, would this stop the shooter? Because again, the D's, the fake news, they're going to try to blame this on Trump, saying, "Oh, he cut the gun violence prevention, and this is why the shooter was able to come in and shoot people." So when you start to look at what this really is, this wouldn't have helped whatsoever. The termination of the federal funding for gun violence prevention programs, including the community violence intervention grants, would not have stopped the July 28, 2025 mass shooting in Midtown Manhattan carried out by Shane Tamara. To break it down, CVI initiatives funded through the U.S. Department of Justice Office of Justice Programs typically support community-based efforts like street outreach, mentoring for at-risk youth, conflict mediation, and trauma-informed services in high-violence urban areas. These are designed to interrupt cycles of retaliatory or gang-related shootings at the local level, often in cities such as New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago. You know what's interesting? This month, Tax Network USA proudly celebrates the entire month honoring freedom, resilience, and financial independence. To mark the occasion, they're offering 10% off all services for a limited time. If you're dealing with back taxes or missed the April 15th deadline, don't wait. The IRS is stepping up enforcement fast. Penalties can add up quickly, up to 5% per month, maxing out at 25% of your total tax bill just for not filing. That's on top of what you already owe. But there's good news. Tax Network USA can still help you turn things around. Whether you're self-employed, run a business, or your books are a complete mess, their team knows how to cut through the chaos and find solutions that work. Your consultation is free, and getting ahead of the problem now could help you avoid harsh penalties, wage garnishments, or surprise bank levies. Take the first step. Call them at 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/X22. And don't forget, this month only, you'll get 10% off Celebrating America. Regain control of your finances with expert help from Tax Network USA. Or just click the link in the description. The Trump administration's April 2025 decision to abruptly end the 69 of the 145 CVI grant worth $158 million as part of a larger rollback of $811 million in public safety and victim services funding. This had nothing to do with the shooting. It would not stop this person. It had nothing to do with it. But again, the D's, they might try to push this, try to convince people that, oh, that's the reason this happened. No, it is not true whatsoever. But think about it. Why would the fake news at this point keep this story on the front page? Let's see how long they keep it in the front page. But 17 Absolute Redo 76 put this out and said, what is the common theme when bad news is about to break against them? So we have Miller gave a potential nod towards something dropping, a nod which hit a Q drop talking about Russiagate, and then we have a potential false flag in New York City. Eyes wide open, friends. So basically, they like to have some type of event, or if there's going to be an event, they like to use it and keep it out on the front page. So basically, it distracts from everything else that's going on. And most likely, this is what they're going to probably try to do. And of course, yes, they're going to say because of Trump cutting the programs, they're going to try to bring up gun control. They're going to do all these things. And of course, what they're going to say is that, oh, he bought it legally. He had a concealed carry. But again, it's not transferable to New York. And with all the gun control laws, that didn't help whatsoever. Basically, it actually hurt the people in the city, because if the people had guns, they'd be able to stop this guy. Let's just replace it with a knife or a sword. If he was in there with a sword, he would have killed all of those people, just like we saw the individual out in Michigan. If he had a car, he could have rammed it right into the building. If he had a bomb. So it doesn't matter the tool that he used. It's the person that we should be looking at. The person out in Michigan, the person in New York. It's the person that actually does these acts. There are good people, there are bad people. But the thing is, it doesn't make any sense that he decided to travel this entire distance, but he didn't map out what floor they're on. Does that make sense? It really doesn't. He knew what building they were in. He knew that they were there. You don't think he would have found out what floor they were on? Something doesn't make sense. Plus, he was wearing a bulletproof vest. He committed suicide, but he was wearing a bulletproof vest? Well, that's kind of odd, too. Trump responded to all this and said the following. I've been briefed on the tragic shooting that took place in Manhattan, a place that I know and love. I trust our law enforcement agency to get to the bottom of why this crazed lunatic committed such a senseless act of violence. My heart is with the families of the 4 people who were killed, including the NYPD officer who made the ultimate sacrifice. God bless the New York Police Department, and God bless New York. And I just want to go back to post 919, March 10, 2018. Guns are safe. Stop falling for the fake news. And that's absolutely true. With everything that people have seen today with knives, bats, cars, any tool can be used as a weapon. And it's the person that is wielding that tool who is responsible for what happens. Not the tool they're using. The tool doesn't do anything. The car doesn't do anything when it's just sitting there. A knife doesn't do anything. A bat doesn't do anything. A bomb doesn't do anything. A gun doesn't do anything. These tools do nothing unless a person uses it to do something. And these tools could be used for good. They could be used for bad. So their entire argument makes no sense. Plus, the Constitution allows the people to carry a weapon. And basically, what the D's have done in New York and many other places, they actually violated the Constitution and they robbed the people of allowing them to carry a weapon in the city with their gun-free zone, because criminals, they don't care about what the sign says. Oh, if the sign says don't rob the bank, I'm sure the criminal goes, hey, there's a sign there. I can't rob this bank. I'm going to go to a bank where there is no sign. That's stupidity. They're criminals. They don't follow the law. And this should tell you everything you know. Now, we don't know if this individual was controlled. We know he had mental problems. And yes, he purchased the weapons before that, but he said he had some type of mental problem. So again, was he on medication? Were there certain intelligence agencies, were they able to control this individual? Maybe, maybe not. We'll have to see how this all plays out. But we could see that out in Cincinnati, the police chief, Terry Thiche, explains what was really happening out in Cincinnati with all the black people beating up the white people. Can you imagine if this was reversed? Again, there's good people, there's bad people. Amuse put this out and said, Cincinnati police chief claims that the black mob that attacked the white tourists were misrepresented in the videos. Evidently, the mob was the true victim. Holly, the woman, was brutally assaulted in Cincinnati. She's a single working mom who went to her friend's birthday party. It's unconscionable that there were no police present in that area of Cincinnati on Friday night, or even an ambulance to take her to the hospital. And that's absolutely true. And now we have Pam Bondi. She is now looking into what has happened. Eric Doherty put this out and said the following. Attorney General Pam Bondi has now ordered the FBI to get involved in the incident where a gang of people was beating up individuals at the Cincinnati Jazz Festival. DOJ official tells Florida Voice News. The FBI is already conducting interviews with suspects and investigating. Yes, lay down the hammer. It's unreal how much federal involvement was required here. The authorities only named suspects after Dylan called them out, and that's absolutely true. And once again, why do you think this has happened? Because this is the D's, this is the fake news. They've been pushing division, and they've been putting people of color against people that are white. And they've been doing this for a very long time. And you can see now that people are acting out on this. C3 put this out and said, we really need to look into who is running the police departments in crime-riddled cities. And when you start to look at the Karens, they look like Karens. They are DEI. They're running the police forces in the cities. And what's very interesting about the Cincinnati police chief, she's currently being sued. Rosie Memos put this out. She's being sued by members of her own force who say she's only gives promotions to women and people of color. So this hatred she has for white people seems on brand, which is very, very interesting. And we could see that, of course, without Dylan, without Bondi getting involved, these people would have done absolutely nothing. It's time to remove all these people. And the people of the city, they must get involved and push back against DEI, against racism, against everything that Obama and the fake news and all these people have been pushing for a very, very long time. And I do believe the country needs to start to come together, and I do believe they will, and I think it is happening. Yes, in the deep blue areas, are you going to see that right now? Absolutely not. Eventually, I do believe we will. And you can see the fake news. They keep putting out fake stories about all these illegals, Maryland man, a Florida man, a hardworking man, a mother. And here's the latest from Newsweek. ICE detains Obama Award winner living in U.S. for 20 years. Homeland Security responded to this and said, these fake news SOB stories are getting old. Darren Contreras Rodriguez is a criminal illegal alien from El Salvador with convictions including theft and possession of marijuana. He was arrested during a court hearing for driving under the influence. Under President Trump and Secretary Noem, if you break the law, you will face the consequences. Absolutely. And he's here illegally. And you could see in South Dakota, the governor now is assisting ICE. Libs of TikTok put this out and said, South Dakota governor announced Operation Prairie Thunder, which directs the state corrections department, highway patrol, National Guard to aid ICE efforts. Every state needs to do everything they can to assist ICE. We voted for mass deportations, and that's exactly what we voted for. And what's very interesting is that ICE and Tom Homan, they put out job openings so people can become ICE officers. And the requirements for this is as follows. Bill Malugan put this out. $50,000 signing bonus, student loan payments forgiveness, law enforcement availability, pay 25% addition to your salary for special agents, administratively uncontrollable overtime for deportation officers, special law enforcement officer retirement, Ben. And Tom Homan says he had to shut down his LinkedIn because so many people were reaching out about working for ICE. So the people of this country, they're not just sitting back and watching the deportations. They want to get involved and they want to help deport all these people. Can you imagine if everyone in this country, all the citizens of this country said, you know something, we're with you, deputize us, we're going to go after all these individuals and deport these people. Everyone, all these people would be gone in a matter of months. Wouldn't even take that long, would it? But again, this is going to speed everything up. And you can see there's a lot of people that want to assist with this. Now, the other thing that we could see is that we know the deep state players, these, they've been laundering money via the government, and they get their funds from the Federal Reserve. They create fake programs. They issue the money towards these programs. Only a very, very tiny percentage goes to the programs, and the rest goes to NGOs, and it's laundered out to other areas, and people get kickbacks. Well, it looks like the Kennedy Center was doing the exact same thing. Wall Street Apes put this out and said the following. Wow, Democrats' Kennedy Center has tens of millions in fake revenue. Our great new CFO went through the 24 and 25 budgets of the Kennedy Center and found $26 million in phantom revenue. Fake revenue, it's criminal. It's another Democrat dark money laundering operation. $26 million fraud on previous donors. We're going to refer this to the U.S. Attorney Office here. We're lucky enough to have the Attorney General on the board of the Kennedy Center who heard all the details today. She heard the details, and this is unacceptable in America to have a fake revenue of $26 million. Fraud on previous donors. And again, where did all the money go? Where did they launder it to? This goes with all the other programs. This is not just fraud and waste. This is criminal activity. Remember, they've created a criminal syndicate. And within the criminal syndicate, there's criminal activity. It's just like the mafia or any other criminal organization. And that should tell you everything you need to know. Now, the other thing we know is that Trump, he was out in Scotland. He met with Keir Starmer. And we know out in UK, they have initiated the Online Safety Act. And when you really read the Online Safety Act, it prohibits illegal content online about illegal immigration and people smuggling. So basically, Keir Starmer, when he was with Trump, said we're not censoring anyone. But if you basically talk about the illegal immigration, people smuggling, or anything like that, they're going to shut you down. They're going to censor you. So there is censorship. And again, what's going to happen is this is going to expand. Because again, they're also going to use it for hate speech. And you know what happens in the very, very beginning. They say, oh, no, this is all that we're going to do. And then basically they expand it afterwards. And they'll just be going after every single person. But Trump, he has warned Keir Starmer, listen, if you don't do the things that I'm saying right now, you're going to be replaced probably by Nigel Farage. And you know something? Sometimes the people of certain countries need to see that these people are not representing them. These people are not for them. And the people need to rise up and actually push back on the deep state in their country and override their cheating system. And this is what Trump said to Keir Starmer. You should cut taxes, come down on immigration, and remove subsidies for renewable energy. And he says, if you do all that, you're going to be pretty darn good. If you don't, well, then my friend, he's going to basically probably be the winner of the next election. And that friend is Nigel Farage. So right there, he's given him some advice. Do you really think they're going to listen? Keir Starmer is going to listen? No, absolutely not. They're all part of the deep state players. They're going in a completely different direction. So good luck, UK. Eventually, the people are going to wake up. The people are going to fight back, and the people are going to say enough is enough. And I wouldn't be surprised if Nigel Farage wins the next election. Now, the other thing that we could see is the fake news. They're trying to convince everyone that Trump is seeking a summit with President Xi. And Trump, he just came out and corrected everyone, said, no, that is not true. He said, the fake news is reporting that I'm seeking a summit with President Xi of China. This is not correct. I'm not seeking anything. I may go to China, but it would only be at the invitation of President Xi, which has been extended. Otherwise, no interest. Thank you for attention to this matter. The fake news likes to spin everything. But again, it's not going to work. And you could see already the deep state players, they are now moving to actually recognize Palestine. First, we had France, and Trump said, who cares what Macron says? Whatever he says, his words carry no weight. And now we have Keir Starmer. He has announced that the UK will recognize Palestine as a state by the United Nations meeting in September. Unless Israel agrees to a ceasefire. So they're already pushing the idea right now that Palestine is going to be recognized. Now, Trump, he said, I've never discussed this with Keir Starmer whatsoever. And he said recognizing a Palestinian state would reward Palestinian militant groups Hamas. You're rewarding Hamas if you do that. I don't think they should be rewarded. Trump said the U.S. had sent money for food aid for Palestinians in Gaza and that he wanted to make sure it's properly spent. I want to make sure the money is spent wisely and it is spent judiciously and that the food is distributed in a proper manner, he said. And yes, the food should go to the people. But again, Hamas, and Trump has said this many times before, Hamas steps in and takes the food and other terrorist groups within Palestine. So basically, we could see the deep state players, they are now pushing this agenda. And think about it. Think about who's actually pushing free Palestine and all the different protests. It's George Soros and the rest. They're all in line with Keir Starmer, Macron, and the rest. And you can see their true intentions now. And it's becoming very, very clear. And when you look at Trump, you could see everything the deep state is throwing at him where they're trying to start wars across the globe. He is putting out the fire left and right. He is averaging one peace deal or ceasefire in a month in the second term. And I do believe the next one is going to be Ukraine and Russia. And we're going to see this whole thing come to an end there. And once again, yes, the deep state players, what do they really want? They want a war, but they're not going to get it. And it looks like Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he's going to be going to war against the vaccine manufacturers. What is he going to do? He's going to overhaul the VICP and end HHS cover-ups for Big Pharma. Remember, there's a vaccine court system that they established, and now Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to dismantle it. This is what he put out on X. The 1986 Vaccine Act gave vaccine makers immunity against lawsuits by children who suffer vaccine injuries. The statute and numerous subsequent court decisions recognize that vaccines, like all medicines, are, in the words of the American Academy of Pediatrics case, unavoidably unsafe, and that a percentage of vaccinated children will suffer injuries or death. Congress, therefore, simultaneously created the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program, which obliged HHS to compensate injured children. In other words, of the Labor and Public Welfare Committee Chairman, Senator Edward Kennedy, when children are the victims of an appropriate and rational national policy, a compassionate government will assist them in the hour of need. Under the VICP, vaccine victims can petition for compensation to the so-called vaccine court, which pays out awards from a trust fund endowed by a 75-cent surcharge on every vaccine. Congress intended that injured children be compensated quickly and fairly for injuries, either presumed or proven to be causally connected to vaccines, with doubts about causation resolved in favor of the victim. To date, the vaccine court has paid out $5.4 billion to 12,000 petitioners, but the VICP no longer functions to achieve its congressional intent. Instead, the VICP has devoted its morass of inefficiency, favoritism, and outright corruption as government lawyers and the special masters who serve as vaccine court judges prioritize the solvency of the HHS trust fund over their duty to compensate victims. The structure itself hobbles claimants. The defendant is HHS, not the vaccine makers, and claimants are therefore facing the monumental power and bottomless pockets of the U.S. government represented by the Department of Justice. Furthermore, most of the special masters come from government, legal, and political posts and typically display an extreme bias that favors the government side. There is no discovery, and the rules of evidence do not apply. The government lawyers do not allow children's attorneys access to the vaccine safety data link, a taxpayer-funded CDC surveillance system that houses the best data on vaccine injuries. Attorney compensation is in the hands of a notoriously biased special masters and often hostile government attorneys who can leverage this power to turn petitioner attorneys against their clients' interests. The VICP continuously dismisses cases outright or drags them out for years instead of quickly and fairly awarding compensation. Special master dismiss over half of the cases. Most of those that proceed typically take 5+ years to resolve, with many languishing for more than 10 years as parents struggle to care for children suffering with often extreme disabilities. Petitioners, attorney complain that the special master make punitive downward adjustments to attorney fees and medical expert fees to punish effective advocacy. Expert witnesses for injured children complain that they suffer intimidation and even threats that they will lose professional status or NIH funding if they testify for injured children. The government pays its own medical expert witnesses promptly while simultaneously slow-walking payments for petitioner experts, sometimes for years. The VICP is broken, and I intend to fix it. I will not allow the VICP to continue to ignore its mandate and fail its mission and quickly and fairly compensating vaccine-injured individuals. I am grateful to be working with Bondi and HHS staff to fix the VICP. Together, we will steer the vaccine court back to its original congressional intent. So basically, it's a criminal system that goes against the people to protect Big Pharma. That's pretty much what that is. And again, when you start to look at the government the way it was, it's one gigantic criminal syndicate. This is why when you look at January 6th, this is why the criminal syndicate, the tyrannical government, went after those people that were just walking around in the Capitol. They wanted to send a message and punish the people of this country. But you know what they did? They actually brought attention to January 6th. And the people are starting to realize that this was an operation driven by the deep state players, driven by the FBI, driven by CIA, driven by Capitol Police, driven by the D's, the fake news. And the people now have learned that there were undercover government agents that helped provoke the riot. They actually wanted a bigger riot. Trump held them back. So they're the ones who really created the riot. Rasmussen Reports put this out and said, how likely is it that undercover government agents helped provoke the Capitol riot? Likely, Dems 59%, Independents 62%, GOP 74%, all voters 65%. The people get it now. The people understand that now the government was behind January 6th. Remember, an insurrection is against a sitting president. They had an insurrection. I'm talking about the deep state players, the Capitol Police, FBI, CIA, Obama, Brennan, Clapper. Remember, this was their grand conspiracy. They just overthrew the United States government, and they needed to make sure that the election was certified the way they let it out. There couldn't be any objections. So they needed some type of an emergency. So they created an insurrection and blamed it on we the people. That's what they did. But Biden wasn't the president. He wasn't certified. So the insurrection was against President Trump. And now the people, they get it. And they also get that the federal judges, like Boasberg, they are biased against the Trump administration. Todd Blanche put this out and said, a newly revealed memo confirms that at least some federal judges were predisposed against the Trump administration. This is a serious breach of the judicial oath and a threat to the rule of law. Every litigant, regardless of politics, is entitled to a fair forum. Attorney General Pam Bondi responded to him and said, today, at my direction, the Justice Department filed a misconduct complaint against U.S. District Court Chief Judge James Boasberg for making improper public comments about President Trump and his administration. These comments have undermined the integrity of the judiciary, and we will not stand for that. Chad Mizell said Judge Boasberg first tried to persuade Chief Justice Roberts and other federal judges that the Trump administration will not follow court orders, despite having no basis for his belief. Then he acted on his baseless belief again and again in litigation over which he was presiding. Judge Boasberg violated the canons of the Code of Conduct for the United States judges, including the requirement that he promoted public confidence in the integrity and impartiality of the judiciary. Today, at the direction of Attorney General, DOJ filed a judicial misconduct complaint against him. Federal judges often complain about the decline of public trust in the judiciary, but if the judiciary simply ignores improper conduct like Judge Boasberg's, it will have itself to blame when the public stops trusting in the judiciary. Absolutely. And you can see they're being called out, which means eventually what needs to happen is once we get control of the House and the Senate, which I do believe we will, I do believe we're going to have impeachment hearings, and we need to get rid of all these judges. So Trump then can nominate new judges and put them in place. And what's very interesting is we could see that Trump's former impeachment lawyer, David Schoen, he is now flipping the script because remember, he actually defended President Trump during the impeachment hearings. And now he's letting everyone know that the D's, they continually said, and they set the precedent that, hey, even if the president is no longer in office, he can be impeached. He said during their second failed impeachment attempt against Trump, Democrats moved the goalpost, claiming impeachment could apply even after a president leaves office. They did this in a desperate bid to disqualify Trump from running again, a tactic that could now come back to haunt their golden boy, Barack Obama. President Trump is right when he says immunity decision would help Obama, but you know what it doesn't help with him? Impeachment. Schoen pointed directly to Article 1, Section 3, Clause 7 of the Constitution, the very clause that Democrats used during their second sham impeachment of President Trump to argue that a former president could still be tried and barred from holding office again. In doing so, they opened the door for the same standard to apply to Obama. which is very, very interesting. And that reminds me of post 894, March 9, 2018. There's a picture of Trump pointing to Obama. And in this picture, it says, when I'm done, it'll be like you were never even here. Now, that is very, very interesting. And what's very interesting is that more and more information is going to be coming out. Actually, Radcliffe is going to be releasing newly declassified documents very, very soon. And it's going to show that the FBI knew full and well that when they started Crossfire Hurricane, that it was nothing more than a ruse approved and actually manufactured by Hillary Clinton and her campaign. So that's going to be very, very interesting. So let's just sum up the entire Russian collusion hoax and Spygate. Jeff Carlson put this out and said the following. In April 2018, I wrote this brief summation of Spygate. In very broad terms, here's what I think probably transpired. Brennan used unofficial intelligence from unofficial channels to establish a multi-agency task force and push the FBI into starting their July 2016 investigation. Some of this unofficial intelligence originated from foreign sources. Some of this unofficial intelligence came through illegal Section 702 searches conducted by the FBI and NSD. Information that had been contrived and internal now became independent and external, was neatly packaged and presented back to the FBI as evidence of Trump-Russia collusion. The Steele dossier allowed the FBI hands to appear clean and independent. It allowed Brennan to appear totally removed. Brennan and Clapper then used the intelligence community assessment to push the Russia narrative so prevalent in 2017. Concurrently, information from the illegal Section 702 about queries was disseminated into intelligence channels and leaked to the media. Ultimately, I believe there are two fundamental stories that will unveil the entirety of what's transpired in Washington. Number one, Brennan dual role, using unofficial intelligence to establish the FBI's Trump-Russia investigation and using the ICA to push Trump-Russia narrative. Number two, FISA abuse committed by the DOJ's National Security Division and the FBI's Counterintelligence Division. All the above was from April 2018. If I could figure this out as an independent, open source journalist, you can be sure that every single national security reporter from Washington Post, New York Times, and many others were well aware of this. They were part of the conspiracy, knowingly, absolutely. And basically, they created this entire grand conspiracy. And if you notice, still on the fake news channels, they're continuing with it. They're not saying it's fake. They're saying it's real, which means the statute of limitations has not run out. And think about all the other crimes that they have committed. And cynical Publius said, I'm sick and tired of Democrats claiming there's no there with respect to Russiagate. If you are such a Democrat, please take the following quiz. And if you have friends or families who are Democrats, please share. Question number one. Was the Steele dossier a fabrication designed to smear Donald Trump? Yes or no, please. Number two, did the original draft of the 2017 Intelligence Community Assessment, the ICA, state that Russia did not seek to assist Donald Trump in the 2016 election? Yes or no, please. Number three, did Barack Obama then direct, using non-standard procedures that cut out the usual intelligence experts at the ground floor who make such assessments, that the ICA be changed to state that Russia did seek to assist Trump in the 2016 election? Yes or no, please. Number four, were the Steele dossier and the modified ICA used to obtain numerous search warrants against Trump's inner circle? Yes or no, please. Number five, were the Steele dossier and the modified ICA used as the basis for initiating the Mueller investigation? Yes or no, please. Number six, did all the above cause much of the general public to believe the first Trump presidency was illegitimate? And two, greatly reduced the first Trump administration's ability to enact the agenda that the constitutional will of the American electorate elected him to achieve? Yes or no, please, on both accounts. So, did you answer no to any of these questions? If so, you have been brainwashed by your media sources. A simple review of the materials recently declassified by D&I Gabbard, coupled with general knowledge of the political climate since 2016, will reveal that all the above questions can only be answered yes. And if you did answer yes to all the questions above, how can you deny that Russiagate constitutes the worst series of political crimes in U.S. history? And if you do deny that, how can you look at yourself in the mirror? And most of these people, I do believe they don't want to accept it. They don't want to accept that they've been brainwashed, they were wrong, because a lot of people, they can't do that. And this is why I do believe Trump and the Patriots have been dripping a lot of this information out very, very slowly. By the time Biden was allowed to live in the White House until now, a lot of people have woken up, and it wasn't because everything was dumped onto their laps all at once. It was brought out, and people needed to see it. People needed to experience it. People needed to digest it. And this is why you haven't seen arrests yet, because number one, you need the people behind you. You need the people to understand the crimes that they have committed. Number two, you need to have full control. If you don't have full control of the judiciary, if you don't have control of the House and the Senate, if you don't have control of the agencies, if you don't have control of all these things, you can't arrest and bring and have accountability. MJ Truth Ultra put this out and said, this is why no one has been arrested. And it's pointing to a post. And this is what it says. Those who cannot understand that we cannot simply start arresting without first ensuring the safety and well-being of the population, shifting the narrative, removing those in D.C. through resignation to ensure success, defeating ISIS MS-13 to prevent fail-safes, freezing assets to remove network-to-network abilities, kill off chain of command to prevent top-down comms org, etc., should not be participating in discussions. And yes, if you notice, this is what Trump is doing right now. Are we going to have accountability? Absolutely. But again, he wants them at a point where they're so weak, they can't do anything. And he wants to be at a point where he has all the leverage and the strength. That is what he's building right now. And I do believe after the midterms, we will have that control. And we will bring accountability. We will have retribution. Now, again, the Senate has to get his nominees confirmed. And it looks like John Thune, he filed to move forward with 5 Trump nominees. Eric Doherty put this out and said, how many do they need to clear? The backlog is 135 Trump nominees. They've been voting on one for 40 minutes. Recess starts at the end of this week, 4 more days. There isn't enough time in the day for them to approve all 135. You either have to cancel the recess, allow Trump to make recess appointments, or the 135 backlog will barely be dented by the end of the week. Well, of course, we know it's impossible to get all these people confirmed in a week. Either Thune says there is no recess, we got to get this finished by the end of August. If they do take a recess, you know what these individuals within the Senate are going to do. They're going to try to gavel the Senate in session. But I do believe Trump most likely has the ability to adjourn the Senate and the House for disagreements. How he's going to play this, we'll have to see. But he does have the ability to do this. And if he can do it just for a couple of days, he can actually recess appoint all of these people, and he could take care of it very, very quickly. And we won't have to worry about this until 2027. And at that point in time, I do believe we'll have the House and the Senate in place where confirmation will be absolutely no problem whatsoever. And I do believe this most likely is what Trump is planning right now, because he knows that the Senate is still made up of the swamp. He knows that there are a lot of rhinos in the House. I mean, the House is not really involved in this, but he knows that there's still bad players still involved in trying to stop him. And this is why I do believe that he's most likely working with Thune, working with Johnson to actually move this in a completely nutty direction, which gives him the power to actually make recess appointments. And I do believe he will get it done. Why? Because the Patriots are in control. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.